Buongiorno from Castellammare del Golfo. We're going to go to Corleone to talk about the origins and the history of the Mafia in Sicily. We're going to talk about the Mafia wars and why Corleone was not the site of the Godfather movies. This is a fascinating topic. Trust me, you'll want to watch it till the end and also hear how our local guide's family was affected by the Mafia.
Basically, Corleone with its landscape and what it's all about is just here. Castello Superiore.
Castello Superiore, and this is where Corleone started. Area very rich of wheat, right? We are how many kilometers from Agrigento?
60. And 60 from where you hit the province, from Palermo, sorry, where you hit the province.
It's strategically perfectly located.
Over here, this is where Corleone actually began. As you can see from the rock face, this was all underwater millions of years ago. Can you see from the rock face?
Yeah.
Now, the last to live up there, the last civilizations to live up there were the Arabs, and they were very productive. The aqueducts that I'll show you now, and we have the mills to harness the natural resources, the two rock waterfall as well. So this is where Corleone basically began harnessing the natural resources. The Romans built that trading route as well. So this made Corleone, the yellow on the Sicilian flag is also in dedication to all the grain that was actually produced and the importance of Corleone, agriculturally speaking. So the last to live up there were the Arabs, then this was all drying up, and the Normans started to build at the foot of the mountain. So they were building a place of worship, cluster of houses, place of worship, cluster of houses. That's why you've got so many churches. And also it's a maze of streets and cul-de-sacs. That was done as well to actually deviate any invaders. So the invaders would come in the streets, they would be going down this maze of streets.
They'd be so confused.
So confused with their armory, and they would end up in some cul-de-sac somewhere, okay, and they would be trapped in that way. So it's incredible just to go through the streets of Corleone and understand this actual medieval architecture and how it was studied to actually defend themselves as well. So if they were attacked, they had another line of defense. Absolutely incredible thinking. So back down there, that's the prison. That was the prison. It's a retreat for Franciscan friars. And just look as far as you can basically see. This is all grain territory.
The drive over here is incredible.
Think about Sicily's geographical siting, yeah? Everybody. How about that long line of different foreign invaders that have come in, yes? This is the Walmart of the Mediterranean. Everyone wants it for strategic purposes. Nexus is a trading route. That's the core reason. Right then, I'm going to throw a date at you. 1809 is when it basically all kicked off. Why? Who was administering the island? The British. Think about it. Napoleonic Wars, strategic siting, military. So whilst the British were here, they get into Parliament, they're thinking about taking sovereignty of Sicily. What happened to Malta? Fell into the hands of the British, yeah? British sovereignty. So they were thinking about the same on a larger scale. So they implement land reforms to divide up the land properly. The land belonged to nobility and the Roman Catholic Church. So they step in, confiscating lands from the church and nobility to distribute amongst the farmers, the small and poor peasantry. That got up the nose of the nobility and Roman Catholic Church. We were basically seeing the transitional period, feudalism to capitalism. Right then, it had to be policed, and the British were good at policing this. Right then, so the Roman Catholic Church and nobility are having lands confiscated from them, divided up into small sections, donated to the peasantry. Very charitable, but they weren't happy with this. Right then, it was policed very well. Napoleonic Wars ended. What did the British do? Usually do. They got on the first Ryanair flight out of Sicily and they were out. Right then, and that meant the security was gone too. What were we left with here in Sicily? High levels of criminality. We had 500 federal soldiers in the whole of Sicily. Chaos. Chaos and criminality on the island. But the Roman Catholic Church and nobility were ready for this. Why? They had the economical resources, yeah? And so they put into place their private emancipated armies, known as the Campieri. Right then, who were the Campieri? Local thugs, very well armed. Their job, protect, manage the lands of nobility and church. And while you're at it, While you're at it, go off to the peasantry and reclaim our land. So they were terrorizing them, extracting concessions from them. They were in control. Now, they're very close to nobility, who were back into parliament. Political arm. So we start seeing a pyramid forming. The Campieri, becoming now the mafiosi. They were representing the terroristic arm. They're hooking up to the political arm. And to complete the pyramid, they hook up to the other powerhouse here in Italy. Sure. 1, 2, 3. Rules, regulations, forms of retribution, all headed by number one. Godfather, Don Vito Corleone. Where did that come from? Hold on, he did exist. Let's take his name, get rid of his last name, stick in the name of Corleone. Corleone doesn't exist as a last name. It's to represent the headquarters of the Sicilian Mafia. Don Vito Castelfedro. Why did he become the first number one? High-ranking criminal here, very high-ranking. Goes off to the United States of America, early 1880s. To do what? To do what? Nobody was really clear. He ends up in jail in the States, so he's not up to any good. When he came back, all became clear. He becomes the head of issuing passports when he came back, through his corrupt political and criminal connections. So what? Tied in very nicely with his future plans and the Cosa Nostra. What was happening here? Thousands and thousands of Sicilians were off to the United States of America. First stopping off place, New Orleans. Why? Well, slavery was abolished, whilst the unification of Italy over here left Sicily in poverty, people desperate to leave. And so New Orleans is the first stopping off place. Why? Slavery's abolished in the States, opens up the floodgates for a brand new workforce on the sugar canes in New Orleans. They're flooding over. Something big happens in New Orleans. Deviate the Sicilians. They were hated by the locals. Why? Head of the police in New Orleans, Hennessy, shot dead. His final words? It was the Dagos. He was investigating criminal activity amongst Sicilian clans. Sicilians are lynched, public hanging. Ellis Island's opening up, they're deviating. So what was Don Vito Castelfedro up to in the States connected to getting Sicilians over to the United States of America? High levels of poverty and desperation. Don Vito, he was very shrewd indeed. These Sicilians hadn't been outside of their own towns, let alone go to another country. They were worried. They were scared. They needed to be reassured. Don Vito turned round and told them, don't worry, you will be reassured. You will be taken care of back in the States. By whom? The sister organization he set up. Have you heard of the Black Hand?
When did the Mafia War start? Who were the main characters?
Right then. The Mafia War started in 1956, okay, and the main characters were Dottore Michele Navarra. Now, he was born and bred in Corleone. He was a qualified physician, so he was the head of the hospital. He was the Lord Mayor of Corleone, and he was the head of the Sicilian Corleonese Mafia. He had all the power. His battle was against the young, enigmatic upstart Luciano Ligio. He was once part of his clan. He detaches himself, knows where it's all going, and he wants number one status. So between these two clans, we have the biggest, bloodiest mafia war ever to take place here in Corleone.
When you say bloodiest, for example, how many people died? How many people
during that war?
During that war.
We're talking in a town that was 16,000 inhabitants. We're talking of over 1,000 victims.
And the Mafia actually killed also a lot of people fighting against them. Judges, priests, journalists.
Bernardino Vedro, who I will talk to you about. Okay, Bernardino Vedro was the Lord Mayor of Corleone. He was leading the second generation of farmers who had their lands donated and then taken away again by the Mafia. And he was leading a fight to release the young farmers from the control of the Mafia. He was shot dead as acting Lord Mayor of Corleone, just up the road. Francesca Morvillo, who we have the mural of on the side of the wall. Many trade union leaders as well. So the victims were not only, and as you said, the church, pivotal point in the Roman Catholic Church.
Journalists.
Detaching itself, many journalists. And I'm going to take you to a Mafia historical spot where there was a big shooting, and we have on the sidewalk, we have many tiles, and they're dedicated to those, many journalists as well, who fell in their fight against the Mafia.
On this street, there are all these tiles with the family members of the victims who were killed by the Mafia. For example, this is Felice Impastato, mother of Peppino Impastato, who's a journalist who was killed. And of course, Giovanni Falcone, Paolo Borsellino, the two judges that we've spoken to you guys about so many times, the two heroes. There are many, many, many people who died fighting the Mafia, as much as there were the Mafia wars killing each other.
Terminology they recognize. They refuse, reject, and they're offended by the use of any other terminology, especially Mafia. Why? Arabic Sicilian slang on the island, Mafia means to swagger, to brag, to be arrogant. Okay? So it's not a pleasant definition. So look upon it this way. Those within the Cosa Nostra, that is the only terminology they recognize. They're offended. Outside, we refer to it as Mafia. I'm going to be using both. You've seen The Godfather. Next time you come across it, sit down. With a blank piece of paper and a pen, think about me. Write down for me every time you hear the word Mafia during The Godfather, okay? You're not going to pick up the pen, not even once.
I was going to say, I don't think
It was a deal that was brokered before by the Colombo family. This is why, when they approached Corleone to do the filming, okay, not shooting, filming, okay, when they came here to do the filming, they were politely shown the route out. And it was all filmed, they couldn't have gone further away. The official excuse here was Corleone went under major redevelopment, okay? But that was happening all over Sicily. It's not true.
You know, Al, we just skimmed the surface of the Mafia wars, but you have a different perspective as well, an additional perspective.
Well, there's a few things that I'd like to add to that excellent guide that you had talking about La Cosa Nostra. I think a good reference book for you folks who want to kind of get in depth into this period of time is a book by an author by the name of Peter Robb called Midnight in Sicily. It captures this 20-year period of essentially death and destruction that took place over here. And believe me, there was a lot of death and destruction, thousands, okay? He talked primarily about the first Mafia War. There was actually a second Mafia War, which was after the Corleone ended up winning. Of course they won, but they embarked on retribution and payback to folks who had opposed them all over the island. Not only that, what they also did was, because they were a little bit afraid of some of the allies they had, they embarked on another period of assassination of trusted allies. Okay, Toto Riena, Bernato Provenzano, all these guys whose names that you can think about. If you want to watch a good movie, by the way, for free on YouTube, there's a movie out there called Il Capo di Tutti Capo, which is excellent. It's Godfather quality, so to speak, about this particular period of time. And then the third thing that happened that not too many people talk about, which would really be Sicilian War number 2B, was the reign of terror that the Corleonesi did in Rome with their bombings, with their assassination of judges, with their assassination of police officials, generals, all over the place. There was death and destruction. The big shots all ended up in jail. Riena ended up in jail. He died a few years ago. He was in his 80s. Provenzano was caught after being on the run for years. Same thing with him. But a new generation has come. Not as violent, okay? Not as violent. As a matter of fact, almost MBA-ish. The jacket and tie guys, okay? The guys that own hotels, the guys that own the different rackets, whether it's the bread industry, hotel, you name it, they're involved, okay? And the last thing I wanted to say, Esther, is that, you know, the Sicilian Mafia, even though it's existed today, it's one of the three prongs, as the guy told you about, between the Catholic Church and the money laundering operations that the Catholic Church had, all right? And also the political class. So those are the three areas that really was pathetic, so to speak. And today, the mob is still around, except it's kind of switched its power center from Sicily to Calabria. The 'Ndrangheta is huge. Okay, last year they're estimating that it smuggled in $68 billion worth of drugs to be dispersed throughout the entire European Union. So it's here. Now, what about you? Is it safe for Sicily? Well, guess what? The last thing that they want to do is bother tourists. They want you to come. They're never going to bother you. Who do they bother? They bother the owners of the hotels. They bother those are the types of people. So you're safe as anything to come over here. And is it ever going to be over? Geez, I don't know. But that's what it is. We have to accept the fact that Italy is an island paradise, but it has flaws. So that's what I wanted to say about that today.
Awesome. Great addition. Grazie. So Gino, you do Corleone tours and Mafia tours, or Cosa Nostra as they like to be called, but you yourself have had some instances where your family had mafia dealings.
Right, yeah. The Judge Cesare Terranova, who was shot dead by the Mafia in 1979, he actually came to Corleone to investigate the Corleonese Cosa Nostra. And his conclusions always is something that I remember his words. He said everybody in Corleone in some way were connected. There were families who had to look after fugitives, for example, people who had to do favors, and those words were always with me. Now, within my mother's side of the family, there was a heavy involvement. There was a heavy involvement with the Cosa Nostra, but I've tried to understand it. You've got to throw yourselves back to the circumstances, the mafia war that existed. There were high levels of poverty, and you were seeing these mafia leaders who were basically, apart from the from their sartorial code, up until their outright power, to be able to get jobs, to have money in their pockets, and this was luring a lot of young men. However, what was behind that outside facade was just absolutely cruel and gruesome. And as they say always, once you're into the organization you're in, there is no way out. So you're talking about preying on, recruiting very, very young, ignorant, illiterate young men, giving them a better social standing in society, the possibility to exert more power. And so that was one of the main attractions of joining the Cosa Nostra. But when reality sunk in and they were married to the Cosa Nostra. They weren't married to their families. They would have to be, the Cosa Nostra was in control of them. So they would actually have to put Cosa Nostra before their own families. And there are many, many examples of that.
Your father was a seamstress. He
That's right.
had to do clothes for the doctor, the head of the mafia.
That's right.
He wanted to leave here.
My father's intention was always to go. And when he did leave, he actually left because he had to, because of the fear of any repercussions. My father was forced to actually make suits for the doctor. There were many, many promises put on the table, but it was just a way to actually take advantage of people in that day. So the doctor, just imagine his immense power, all-round power, a qualified physician as well. You know, a physician in those days would be highly looked upon. But to control the hospital, to control people's health in the town, to be the Lord Mayor too, to control the whole town economically, and also have control of the police force as well. So you would place your faith and trust in these people. Whatever they said, as far as you're concerned, would be reality. So my father wasted a large chunk of his life actually wasting time where the Cosa Nostra took advantage of it.
There was a family member on your mom's side.
Family member on my mother's side instead was involved. He was a hitman for the doctor, and he was actually killed early on in life. His family moved to the States immediately because he was married. He had a young son, and they moved to the States to avoid any repercussions. So in the same family, the dichotomy of it, in the same family, you could have, for example, a father who was involved heavily in the Cosa Nostra, and you would have his brother who wasn't involved, for example. And so you would have the dichotomy of it. You have to get into the psyche of people, and also the moment who they were actually frequenting as well. Who were their friends? What was their position in society? What were they actually doing in life? It all depended on that, because it could depend on what they were actually doing specifically to be drawn into the organization. There were many who just couldn't basically turn around and say no, full stop.
How true was the depiction of the Godfather of the way Cosa Nostra ran?
If you take away all the fancy dressings, and all how it was Hollywoodized in that way, I'd give it 8 out of 10.
Wow.
Because the stories there, the core reasons are there, the core stories, you get to the core of them, and they're very, very precise indeed.
Honor, power.
Absolutely. And the influence as well from the Mafia. I always pick on the actual topic of not using the word Mafia during The Godfather. Only Cosa Nostra was used.
Not once was it used.
And that was a deal brokered, but when you go down deeper, the Colombo family back in the States, part of the New York Mafia Commission, that was part of the deal, basically, that the word Mafia would not be used during The Godfather. So just think about how it was influenced even externally in that sense.
Someone once said to me many years ago, a Sicilian said to me, not just in Corleone, but all over Sicily, all Sicilians have a tiny bit of Mafia in their blood.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because it derives from the past occupiers as well. It's in our DNA. It's in our DNA, for example, we know that the infrastructure isn't working. And so when we need something doing, we will look for a contact. Yes, that's a Mafia mentality. But we're forced into that basically because the infrastructure isn't working well. So tomorrow, if I've got an administration, something to do with administration, something to do with the local council, something to do with the hospital, I'm going to start looking for a contact. Jobs, contacts. The voting system here is absolutely ridiculous. Nobody is reading a manifest. No political party is coming out with a manifest, or if they do, it's all practically made up. No one's reading a manifest. You're actually going out to vote who you know, who's promising you something that you do need in the future. You need a favor dealt with, well then you'll go and give that person a vote. You don't know if they're right wing, left wing, whatever political stance they're actually taking. They don't even know as well. Unfortunately, we're always there. Politically speaking, if you're going to become a heart surgeon, you need to go through a certain schooling. If you want to be a dentist, you're going to have to go through some certain schooling, like a lawyer. If you want to become a politician, okay, if you've got money in your pocket, you're going to achieve your goal very, very easily. So you have incompetent, corrupt people actually running what is basically one of the most beautiful places on this planet, Sicily.
Couldn't agree more. One of the most beautiful on this planet. Let me ask you, how much was the Vatican and the Church complicit with the Mafia?
Right then, we got to go through some certain eras. For example, remember when we had larger families beforehand, the eldest son or second eldest son would be pushed into the priesthood, not for his true vocation. Why? Well, that would be a way of having a stand in society, because the Roman Catholic Church and very important parts of the Roman Catholic Church were closely tied to the Cosa Nostra, remember. Now, we go through certain pivotal points. Now, we have the Vatican bank scandals. The Vatican bank scandals that took place in the 80s, where we had an Italian banker found hanging Blackfriars Bridge. We had the Franklin Bank involved in all of this. Basically, you could invest money in the Vatican City without it being traced. So there were big bank scandals, so that underlined the economical connection with the Roman Catholic Church. Move on. Fast forward, 1993. Priest is shot dead in Palermo. Padre Puglisi, he was trying to funnel young, unemployed males in Palermo. Instead of being vulnerable to join the clans and be possible recruits for the Mafia, he was trying to gauge them into local workplaces, trying to give them some kind of different future, a different choice. However, the Cosa Nostra, the Mafia, in that sense, they found that he was stealing possible recruits. He was shot dead on his birthday. Now, a priest is shot dead. Wow. We've got Pope Wojtyla, Pope John Paul II. He's on a open-air mass in Agrigento, totally unscripted, and he starts screaming out against the mafia, the assassination of the judges, Padre Puglisi. We're all shocked, we're all gobsmacked. This is the first time we're hearing someone of a religious order, like a priest, a pope, screaming out against the mafia. We were not used to, on a Sunday, on the pulpit, that a priest would scream out against the mafia. Right, this is the turning point, the detachment. Pope Francis comes in, and so we have a reformist. He was more transparent, and so he excommunicated all mafiosi. They could not receive their holy sacraments, they couldn't receive the last rites, funerals, etc. So this was a way of underlining again, we are not in any way attached to this organization. So we'll go through those eras. We go through the times when you could actually claim immunity within churches, hiding places from mafiosi. The church would actually offer instant forgiveness because priests were there without their true vocation, worried about mafia bosses taking confession. But the mafia bosses were convinced that, okay, that the priests were releasing them from what they had done wrong in that sense, religiously as well.
Corleone, the heart of a lion. Why do you do what you do?
I do it purely. My main aim was at home. I've got 2 young daughters. I wanted in some way to actually create a better society for them. It's a long journey, a long journey. It has to start somewhere, and the only way it's going to take place is through education. So if you educate, the problem is we're tearing pages out of history books at the moment. So education is a very long journey, but it's the only way. It's not going to be fixed tomorrow.
We just had one of our friends' daughter returned from Spain. She was studying for 3 weeks, and she said to me, you know, Esther, even in Spain, when they found out I'm Sicilian, the first question to me, this is a young lady, 19 years old, and they say to her, what are you, Mafia? It's a very unfortunate situation that continues. Unfortunately glorified by the Godfather, Sopranos, etc. But I want to say that you are a true Sicilian treasure. We need more people like you talking about these things, ushering these important, sweeping really these important pieces of information into the public. And so I personally want to thank you for what you do for Sicilians.
Thank you very much. Saying the stereotyping goes on, and it will do. It will do. It's the same back in the States. If someone back in the States says, where are you from? Chicago. Okay, they're going to come out with some stereotyping. Here it's very heavily indeed, and it's very offensive, especially to young people who are out studying, trying to better themselves in some way. They love their actual native origins of Sicily. It's one of the most beautiful islands here. So we need more people to speak out about this, educate, and
that's the goal, Alfred and I, of You, Me, and Sicily. That's what we do. We try to dispel stereotypes and give them facts. So thank you very much. As I mentioned before, we've only skimmed the surface of this fascinating topic. We'll have more for sure on this subject. I want to make sure that I mention again Judges Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino. We've done many videos on them, but can't do a video on Mafia without talking about these 2 national heroes. All right, I want to say thank you, by the way, to everyone who wished me happy birthday on June 6th. Grazie mille. It was great. Maybe I'll show you some scenes on this video, maybe on another video. And let's see. We're here in Castellammare del Golfo, and we'll see you on another video of You, Me, and Sicily. A presto. Ti voglio bene. Ciao.